Her name was Maria. Maria was different. She didn't take selfies. She wasn't addicted to coffee, and she knew nothing about reality television. Once, we saw Scott Disick at a CVS, and she had no idea who he was. I loved that. She dressed plainly, never really wore makeup, and she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. I loved Maria's silky hair. I loved her smile. Her smile could light up the whole world. I loved her laugh. Whenever she laughed with her whole body. I loved her. I never told her these things, of course. I wanted to remain cool and collected. I didn't want to come off as overeager. But you might say to me, hey, you should have told her. Who wouldn't want to hear such lovely things? Well, let me ask you this. When's the last time you talked to anyone like that? That's the kind of talk you hear in a Shakespearean sonnet, or a pop song, or at the end of a romantic comedy. Have you ever gone to someone's window at night to serenade them with a poem you wrote just for them? Yeah, you might see that in a movie, but in real life, she'd probably call the cops on you. It doesn't keep me from imagining it. I spend a lot of time in my imagination. I suppose it's because I'm a writer. I like to write all kinds of things. Poems, songs, stories, you name it. And mostly, I write about love. Why love? Well, a lot of movies are love stories of some kind or another. And most songs are about love, too. And when you really think about it, we're actually all obsessed with love, aren't we? It's not just me. Maria once asked me why I write. Now that's an even bigger question. I never really knew why. Or at least, I could never put it into words. There's something unspeakable about it. It's like how I felt about Maria. What was it about her exactly that made me feel this way? It's hard to describe. It's hard to make sense of even. I actually think it's impossible to put into words. And I'm a writer. And even though words wouldn't do my feelings justice, I wanted to tell Maria how I felt. You can't keep something like that in. Not when you felt the way I did. Trust me, I was dying to tell her. But there was a series of complications. Complication number 1. She was my roommate. That's right, Maria wasn't my girlfriend. She wasn't even a Tinder match. I met her after she answered an ad I put on Craigslist when I was looking for a roommate. That's right, she was my roommate. The girl of my dreams was my gosh darn roommate. Oh, did I mention her accent? Very alluring. Maria had come here from Venezuela. It had always been Maria's dream to come to America, where she felt that her hard work would have a much better chance of turning into success. But she was having trouble extending her visa. She was allowed to be here as a student, but school was almost coming to an end, and she no longer had the money to take more classes. Then, this led to complication number 2. I married her. It wasn't a real marriage, of course. She had run out of options, and it looked like she'd have no choice but to return to Venezuela. This was a huge bummer. Not only because I may never see her again, but because she might not ever get to pursue her dream of becoming an American. In fact, when I learned this, I was heartbroken. I couldn't help but think about one of my favorite rom-coms, a movie called Green Card. It's about a French person who marries an American just so they can get citizenship. The characters in that movie hate each other at first, but after they're forced to pretend to be a married couple, they end up falling in love. Maria and I didn't even hate each other. Far from it. We'd been roommates for a year, and we got along great. We even hung out all the time. We were actually pretty good friends. So if the couple in the movie got together for real, maybe it wouldn't be so far-fetched for something to happen between me and Maria. But I had to tell myself that that was just a movie. I knew that it would never really happen. Still, I'll admit I fantasized about it. More than that, I really wanted to help her. So I offered to marry her. Of course, it would only be a marriage of convenience, just like in the movie, so she could get her green card. It was the only way she could stay. We'd already lived together, so it wouldn't be too hard to pass ourselves off as a real couple. So I asked her if she would, quote-unquote, marry me. It would be dishonest, she said. but I really want to stay. I want to be an American. I told her that a lot of legit marriages were dishonest in different ways. How many married couples are cheating on each other or keeping secrets from each other? Heck, a lot of married people don't even seem to like each other. And sure, our marriage would be a sham, but to me, I actually did love her. I didn't tell her that part though, of course. I saved that for my journal. What I told her was, look, you want to be an American or not? She smiled her radiant smile and said, I do. So we had a deal, and we shook on it. Now, as a romantic, I'd spent a lot of time imagining the moment in my life when I'd propose to someone someday. But I never in a million years thought it would look like this. We aced our interview with immigration. It wasn't hard to pretend. Not for me, anyway. They could have hooked me up to a lie detector and asked me if I really loved Maria. I would have answered yes, and it wouldn't have been a lie. But it was getting harder to ignore my feelings, which were growing bigger and bigger, taking over my whole body. It was like a tumor. So the day she got her green card, we celebrated. And I kissed her. And guess what? She kissed me back. And just like that, in an instant, we'd gone from being roommates to becoming a married couple. Complication number 3. We had instantly gone from being roommates to becoming a married couple. Imagine kissing someone for the first time. Then in the morning, you wake up next to this person to find out you've known them for years. You live together, and suddenly have their last name. For Maria, this is basically what happened. I still tried to romance her, but I'm sure it all felt like too much, too soon. Until eventually, she told me she needed to take a break. I mustered, okay. Because men are supposed to be cool and unaffected by these things. She hugged me. Can we still be friends? For sure. Of course. I tried to be friends with her. Really. But I'd always end up kissing her. I couldn't help myself. And she'd always kiss me back. But it never seemed to go much further than that. Were we just friends? Or were we something more? I couldn't tell. We limped along in this murky friends with benefits phase for a while until complication number 4. My mom got sick. She had a stroke. Luckily, she ended up recovering completely, but it took a really long time. Until then, she needed someone to take care of her and help her around the house. And my mom lives all the way in Vermont. I told Maria I had to leave to be with my mom, and I packed up and moved in with her. I spent my evenings feeding my mom and watching Jeopardy with her. I still kept in touch with Maria. It sucks that I left just when I thought maybe something might have been starting to happen between us. I missed her so much. I was happy to be with Mom, but I was sad for what could have been with Maria. So much had gone unsaid between us. I'll take unspeakable for 100, Alex. Unspeakable as it is, this word describes the worst feeling in the world. What is heartache? Eventually, Mom got better, and I returned. A year later. I got a place of my own and was hoping to pick up, well, transcend really, from where Maria and I had left off. And Valentine's Day was coming up. It could be the perfect reunion. So I asked Maria over for dinner. She was happy I was back and said yes. I was psyched. I deep cleaned the apartment, marinated a salmon, shaved my back, the whole 9. I know what you're thinking. How did I shave my back? Well, I didn't. I had my buddy Todd come over and do it for me. I have so much body hair, he eventually got frustrated and decided to just go with waxing. Todd's a good friend. Anyway, when Valentine's Day came, Maria came over and we had dinner. She was more beautiful than ever. We talked and laughed for hours. It was always so easy with her. After dinner, Maria insisted on doing the dishes since I cooked. As I watched her put away the dishes, I couldn't help but think, this girl could totally be my wife someday. My real wife. But at that moment, complication number 5. Out of the blue, Maria told me she had met someone. That's all. No name, no details. Frankly, I didn't even want to know. There's a finality to those words. I met someone. Not much you can do about that. She asked me if I was okay. As always, I tried to keep my cool. I said, yeah, sure. Besides, it's not like this was ever an exclusive thing, right? Right. Not even close. Then, I did something unspeakable. I cried. I broke down completely. Right in front of her. In my own darn kitchen. Ugh, just thinking about that makes me cringe. Whoever this other guy was, she obviously preferred him. Surely he was the ultimate model of cool, manly indifference. In that moment, everything I was not. In my mind, this guy was Paul Newman. Of course she would choose Paul Newman over me. Who wouldn't? Every time I saw his smug grin on a bottle of salad dressing, I'd think, screw that guy. I wish I could give you a storybook ending, but this isn't a movie. Maria and I went our separate ways. But long story short, she's an American citizen now. And we still talk sometimes, as friends. At the time, it was a terrible heartbreak. I dealt with it like I always do in these situations. I watch rom-coms and bawl my eyes out. And also, I write. A lot. I once heard a theory that those who write about love tend to be losers in love. And I think that might be true. I suppose we spend so much time imagining the perfect love story because, well, none of us really get to live it. Maybe that's why I write. I think it was William Wordsworth who once said, "Fill your paper with the breathings of your heart." I'm now realizing that I've just told you about something illegal, and that I've had my back waxed. Can we maybe keep that between us? Oh, and please don't report us to immigration. Life doesn't always give us what we want, but maybe that's why we write, or build, or create, or do whatever it is we're passionate about. Tell me, what are the breathings of your heart? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. When you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.